That sounds like a potential song part.
So let's talk about the recording process and the gear that I used for recording the song Ahead of the Storm. Basically, when it comes down to the whole recording process, I usually start with drums. And same happened with this song too. So what I did was that I used the Superior Drummer 3, the drum plugin, and then started to build up the song that way. And then kind of like followed my intuition and wrote the riffs around what I heard. And the core of the song was written during one or two live streams. And I think after that I started to more work on the song structure and then build up more the certain parts even further and produce it that way. So as a part of the recording process, I realized that I even just wanted to start the song with a guitar solo, which was a little bit absurd thing to do. But the more I listened the song that way, it felt like it was the way to go. But then on the gear side of the things, I decided to limit myself to use as little guitar gear as possible. But I think it evolved a little bit during the process. I don't have a lot of bass instruments or bass guitars. So the bass was basically just recorded with this Ibanez SR 505. So it was this through the Kemper. As I went through the whole Logic project that I have, I realized that I don't even have written the profile that I used. I had one bass track and that was it. I'm not sure if I used a Kemper profile or which Kemper profile it was. I only just sent that one track to mixing and mastering, and it sounded fine. Usually I do have like a Kemper profile and then a DI signal, so then there's a lot more room to work with in the mixing process. But when it comes down to the guitars, I used my PRS Custom 22 for all the guitar tracks that are in this song. I didn't feel at all using different guitars for different parts because this guitar alone can do a lot of different things. That's why I really like this guitar. So this guitar, mainly with the bridge pickup, I don't remember if I used any other options of the pickups for different parts. So it's quite straightforward way of using this guitar. And when it comes down then to the sound palette that started to shaping the song, standard tuning, of course, that I have mentioned multiple times already, was the thing during the recording process. And then something like PRS MT15, it has been my go-to guitar profile, amp profile with the Kemper. And I think the profile that I've been using so far has been doing the work really well with everything that I record. It's one of the rhythm guitar profiles by Reamp Zone, and the rhythm guitar sounds something like this. And then the chords are something like so there's a lot of like a low end with this profile. So, but in overall, I think it gives a really good starting point for the mixing. During the production phase, I usually just record this part and then pan it on left or right side. And then the another amp profile is usually something like a British style, something like EVH 5150 or Friedman BE100. The another rhythm guitar amp profile that I used was a profile by Reamp Zone, and it's based on Friedman BE100. And here's how that amp profile sounds like. And then some chords here. So it's a different type of amp profile. And for the lead guitar tones, I used the MT15 with wah. For that intro solo that I showed, that ended up being inspiration for the outro, I used the PRS MT15 lead profile that sounds like this without any effects. And usually I record everything without like delay or reverb. And then the same lead profile with a wah pedal that is based on morally bad horsey wah. So here's how it sounds like. Something like that. So this is like almost like 2/3 of the lead tones on this song. Once I moved to Finland, I realized that there is this like a lead rhythm guitar part that is a little bit out of tune and a little bit sloppy. So I decided to retract that and try another amp profile. But the only problem was that I didn't write down what was the amp profile that I used. I think it was the Soul Diano amp profile, but it can be also this PRS MT15. I'm not entirely sure, but it's pretty close to. But it sounds fine, so it doesn't really matter that much. So what I played here with this like rhythm guitar part was something like this. So it needs to be with the distortion, but also not too much, because I really want to hear each note of this little dissonant chord. Here's like the string skipping riff that I played. It was a little bit out of tune. So there was the riff, so you get the idea of how that sounded like. So that's basically like the gear approach to do the recording process. So basically I tried to always listen what the song needed, but also restrict myself to using some gear, and if that didn't work, then look further to see what other opportunities are there, like sound-wise and guitar-wise. So the core of the guitars was done that way. And then there's a guitar solo in the middle of the song that I recorded with a DI signal. The amp plugin, the Neural DSP 14 Cali, so it inspired me to play a certain way, so that's why I recorded with the direct signal, and I actually ended up sending it as a like direct signal. It was an accident, but it sounded fine, so I didn't comment on it any further, like how it was supposed to be sound like. I was also inspired by the Pliny plugin, and here's how the part sounded with that. I sent that as a DI track to mixing, so it turned out to be slightly different, but I'm fine with that too. So that's what happened in the guitar territory. Now I still have to show some other parts that I recorded during the process, and let's take a further look at the Logic session.
So now we're inside of the session of the song Ahead of the Storm. I have to admit that it's looking like there's a lot of tracks. There's like, I think 63 different tracks inside of the session. And here's like the longer version of the song that I ended up writing. And it was a slightly longer version of the song, but then this part here was something that I felt like it was too much. Once I was asking feedback about this song, I think this part was the one that popped out, and I got a question that, is it really necessary to have this part as a part of this song? And I just copy pasted it here to the side, and then decided to try different versions of the song where I cut out some parts and move it to the other side of the song. So yeah, that's the part that I ended up cutting. I think it would be interesting to listen what's happening inside of this part. So here's the part. So there's this piano part, clean guitars, a little bit more calm part of the song. But again, I thought it's better to just keep the intense energy through the whole song. Let me just move my volume a little bit louder here. So that's like the middle part that I ended up cutting out. I think the ending here is slightly different too. No, so the ending itself stayed the same here. So what was happening here, I used like a clean ambient tones from Kemper for the clean guitars, and then the piano was from this plugin. Let me just show it here. It's this one. So it's Complete Control Ascended Wings. Yeah, that's the preset that I use. That's also the way how I approach to certain parts of the song. As you can see here as well, I have demo vocals here and a lot of like vocal tracks that I recorded, mainly with this like SM7B that has been like my vocal microphone for a while now, and it feels like it's the way to go for me at the moment, because I can easily just pack it with me and just record in a different locations. Of course, it requires a lot of boosting, but I feel that it works really well with my voice. But then if we again go back to the track itself, the song, there's way too many tracks, and I haven't really like I have to admit that I'm really bad at structuring songs or having like a good clean layout on the recording sessions. So here, like this part of the song, I recorded a lot of like harmonics, like vocal harmonies to this song, and you can hear them in the final product. The core idea for the vocals was basically done on the session that I did early in 2024. You can check out the video on my channel if you are more interested about the approach that I used back then. Basically, I just switched to this microphone and recorded and fine-tuned the lyrics here in Finland and recorded them in, I think, in one session or two. It's like 1 or 2 days that I spent on the vocal tracks. So yeah, that's the vocal tracks here. And then what else are we having? Here are the guitars that I mentioned. The bass is here, and then I think I downloaded like this little effect thing. And because it was called Ahead of the Storm, I was still thinking like, how do I start the song? So that was the thing. And then the intro solo, I named it Intro Outro Wah Solo MT15. And I think I accidentally used on the same track some other rhythm guitars, and it wasn't a good choice, but they were there. And then I decided to then just record the actual solo as an outro and try to match with the volume so it helps in the mixing process. Then the tapping DI, which is also played as a legato part, as I showed it earlier. So it's this preset here. I think I tweaked a little bit of delay, or I did really minor tweaks. So if you want to achieve that sound, it's the Pliny plugin and then use this preset and you're pretty good to go. The standalone thing, it sounds like this. So it's like a synth-like guitar track. And then if we move more down, I recorded some harmonic guitars. And what else is here? The drums, basically, as I mentioned, during the recording process, I just used the Gent style drum kit from Superior Drummer 3. Basically, that was also just preset. So I basically built up the song from the drum grooves here, and then once the song was basically ready, I did the tweaks with the fills and maybe added like a double bass thing going on here at the end of the solo to just build up the tension with the rhythm towards the halftime part of the guitar solo. And then the synths are something that I experimented a little bit here, because like I'm a huge fan of the synths, but I'm really bad at finding the right sound. But this is pretty cool. Here's how the synths alone sound like. Let's take the chorus as an example here. So I'm having like this big pulse waves that is basically a stock plugin sound from, or preset sound from Logic Pro. So here's how the chorus sounds like with synths. So basically, it sounds like it's adding a lot more like atmosphere, and then the other part here, like the other synth track, is also like a complete control. It's actually just a brass ensemble, which is quite interesting choice here, but it works. I like that type of sound, and then in order to make things even further with the production here, I used a choir, and it sounds like this. So it's a really nice thing to have. And for tracking this, I basically like recorded my keyboard take with my native instruments, Complete Control S61 Mark II. I think that's the one. And then just try to use the coolest sounding rhythm tone. But then I think that's for the most part what's happening here. I added like there's a little bit of like crowd chants for that halftime part where I have the choir here, as you can hear. So that was another thing that I felt like this song needed. Other than that, I experimented a little bit with having scream parts here during the bridge part before the solo, but it didn't really feel like a suitable thing to have. So here's just a quick overview. I just give you a little bit at the end of the I just give you a little hint of the screams that I did. It's so terrible. Yeah, it's terrible. So I think it's good that I didn't even go further with that. But yeah, that's kind of it. Nothing super complex production wise. So basically 2 tracks of synths, 2 main rhythm guitar parts, and there is like one like MT15 higher part in the mix for the chorus. And then the lower part of the rhythm guitar, and that's pretty much it. I have to say that I'm a little bit confused now. I may have sent the EVH 5150 profile. I'm not entirely sure right now because everything is now in the flat position. I haven't touched this project since I sent it to mixing and mastering. That's kind of all what was happening here. So native instruments for the keys, the keyboard, and then some of the presets from the plugins that I got, brass, and then like the big pulse waves presets, then some choirs, also a preset from the Logic Pro, then lead guitars, basically Neural DSP 14 Cali for inspiration as a DI. It went to mixing and mastering. MT15 amp profile with wah pedal, then Pliny suite for the another lead type of sound that inspired me to write it. Pierce MT15 for rhythm guitars, and then a British style amp profile for another to complement the main rhythm guitar tone. So basically it's the EVH 5150 or the Friedman BE100 based amp profile. Then Kemper profiles for bass or the DI signal, and then Superior Drummer 3 for drums, SM7B for vocals, and custom PRS Custom 22 for guitars. That's all the gear basically that I used. So if you have any questions about the gear, let me know in the comments as well. So that's how the recording process took place, and also the gear for the song Ahead of the Storm. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and see you on the next one. Bye!